What's up everybody, Gundam Flexing here. I hope everyone is safe and doing well during these times. In this video, I'll be going over the just completed Master Grade Gundam F91 version 2.0. This model is featured in Gundam F91. This kit came out in May of 2018 and could still cost you roughly around $35 to $40. Now this model does stay true to the original version. It has a lot of cool weapon systems. It has decals to include dry decals, which I haven't used in a very long time. This model also comes with a stand and a lot of additional pieces. So before we go into the kit you see in front of you, we're going to skip all those pieces and go right into the extra accessories and the decals. And coming up first is this. This is pretty much his shield and his beam sabers. Now I really do like the colors. You really don't see a lot of neon green, and the beam sabers for a Master Grade is pretty short compared to what I've seen, but I do like the neon green and the fact that it's also transparent. Now you'll notice here, this is where it's hooked up to, right there, and it will go into the forearm, which we'll check out later. And like I said, this model also does come with a stand itself, which is pretty cool and pretty convenient. So this is the stand. It's pretty much like the standard stands you would buy sold separately. And of course, we have the decals. So here is one decal sheet, and you'll notice here, I'm holding it upside down, that the instruction doesn't have you use all of it, which is great because you do have a variety of options. And I would highly recommend going with these decals. You notice that the vast majority of the colors are red, and it shows up pretty well on white. So highly recommend to use them. Next is the sticker sheet, the tinfoil sticker sheet, and here they are. Now you notice I didn't really use all of it. You have the option here on sticker number 1 on whether or not you want to use the green eyes or his blue eyes. And I decided to go with the classic green eyes. You also have some extra stuff here and here, like the triangles. Nothing too crazy, but here it is. And finally, the dry decal sheets. Now I haven't used dry decals in such a long time, so it was a real pleasure to actually use these. The dry decals that I use is the F and then the 91. I sort of wish it gave you options on numerals, because if I had a choice I would put F69, something really cool like that. All the other decals that you see here they are. The ones that I decided to go with besides the F91 are the elongated strips here, and I used it on the back of his jetpack. Now the ones that I've seen so far, they look like they're pretty easy to apply because most of them are flat surfaces. So here they are. Now we go on to his hands and weapons. Here we'll see a series of hands. Basically this guy comes with like 3 pairs of hands, and of course I'm only holding up like 3 hands, but one of them is currently on the rifle. So you have like a closed fist hand, and it's important to note that these hands, specifically the fingers, are like one gigantic piece. And you notice a little nub sticking out here. That's how they go into the wrist, or to the palm. Now I know I have long nails, so it's pretty classy. There you go. Just put that in the comments section. And we also have his grip hand for his beam sabers. Right there. So you get a pair of beam saber hands, a pair of closed fist hands, and a pair of trigger hands. And one of them it was on here, it fell off. Now it's important to note that because these fingers are not individual joints like some of the other Master Grades, like the Zaku Master Grade, this one actually is sort of like a high grade. So you put the finger into the trigger finger, or into the trigger well, and you wrap the rest of the hand in, and then you push it in, and it'll catch through these little small knobs inside. I could tell you that they do fit well into the weapon system, but if you're not used to it, it's going to be a little bit weird trying to put it into the rest of his palm, because it does have to face a certain angle. And now that I have the beam rifle up, this is the beam weapon, and I think it's pretty cool. Essentially, it's just the gray piece in the middle, or I guess in the center, and you will put a white piece over the top, like that, so just like a cover. You also have a little like grip mount right here, like that, and pop it back in, like this. So it's pretty cool. You even have like little decals on the side as well. I think this is a very slick weapon. And of course, you have the bazooka. Now, the beam bazooka, or whatever you'd like to call it, this pose took me a while to get. Now, I think this overall weapon system is great, but if I could pull it out, just like the beam rifle, you have the hand, you have the trigger finger, and you just squeeze the whole thing inside it because there is a catch. So once it's catched, it's very sturdy and very nimble, won't be able to budge in or out. But because this weapon, the length of this weapon is so long, you may have trouble trying to pose him with holding the weapon like this, or maybe holding it pointed towards an enemy. It took me a long time just to even get that pose. And simply because the handle here has to be pushed out all the way. If you leave the handle anywhere like a 90-degree angle or less towards the back end, you are not going to mount this weapon, I guarantee it. It was pretty frustrating. But I do like this beam bazooka. Again, just similar like the beam rifle, you have like the individual inside piece, and then you have the cover that goes on the top. You also have the clip at the back, which is removable, which I think is pretty cool. So if you wanted to hang the weapon like this, you can move the clip and you're able to sort of like avoid dodging the shoulders. But yeah, here is the beam bazooka right here. Pretty cool. And now on to the model itself. There are a lot of cool things with this model, and there are quite a bit of frustrating things aside from the weapon systems. If we start with the head, it's important to note that he has two varieties of face masks. I have one. The other one you could find online. It's just similar to like the vagina kind of deal. But what I want to point out, important to note in this head, is his V fins. They look really cool, and it's like a double V fin. What I don't like about it is the fact that it pops out like this. So the whole thing is connected to the head like this, and they are so easy to get knocked out. So easy. But other than that, the rest of the head is pretty cool. You do have little cannons on the side of his head, as is tradition to most Gundams. Looking at his abdominal and chest, so just like the show, the cockpit is inside his chest, and if we look even closer, you can see that it has gold lining. So this model does come with quite a little bit, not as much, but a few gold pieces, and they actually go into his chest and into the vents in his legs, and I think that is incredible detail. What you don't also see on his chest, or right now, is the cockpit, which is in a blue capsule, just like the show, and I think it is super cool. It's just unfortunate that you just can't see it because it's blocked. If we go back to the back, here we see more gold pieces, and I really like this. I really like the fanned out, the gold, and then the gray, then the white fans, and it just completely fans out. I really enjoy that kind of detail, that level of detail. Here it is, like that. He has what I like to use as a reference as a backpack system. Right here he has twins, and of course this is where I applied the dry decal. So these are actually weapons that here you could tell there's a little knob, and it's able to swing itself all the way forward, and he's able to grab it and use them as weapons. And if we look at these, this is essentially what the weapon would look like. It would hang underneath his armpit, and you are able to expand the front part, expand the back part, if I may, without damaging it. But yes, you're able to expand the back part like this, and then his handle would come out like this, and you're able to grab onto it. Now, I'd also like to point out, aside from the bazooka, this is actually, for me, in my opinion, a little bit difficult to pose him with. For whatever reason, his hands actually have to wrap around it. It can't go closer to his body, just away from his body. And here it is. He also has a handle at the bottom, like this, which is almost impossible for him to reach, but it is a nice detail. So something to keep in mind is that as you swing this weapon system around, it is a little bit difficult to pose, especially if you're trying to mimic something from the box. Nothing too extraordinary with his skirt. I do like to point out that he does keep his beam saber holsters in here, and they come out like this, which I think is freaking cool. Unfortunately, it's only for this side and not the other side, so there is no option for like that to mount his beam sabers. So the beam sabers are only able to mount inside on the left side. If we look at the back of his skirt, he has an option to mount his bazooka and his other weapon systems via this system right here. That. If we look at his shoulders are pretty interesting. Of course, we have the F91 dry decals, which dry decals is definitely the way to go versus like the sticker decals, because the sticker decals, you could tell where the unevenness of the surface just suddenly drops to the piece. You could sort of see like the reflection of the unevenness. So yes, dry decals is the way to go if you have the patience to apply them. But in this side, his left arm, this is where the shield can be mounted. His awesome neon green shield, you just simply pop this off, put the shield on, pop the cap on tight, and you're good to go. Looking at his legs, one thing I want to highlight is the back of the legs. Here they are. Here we have a fin system for his legs, which I think is pretty freaking cool. You can tell I also added the decals right now. We have the decals like this for his fins. It's pretty cool. And if we look at the front of his legs, just the smallest detail of the other gold pieces that go underneath the gray vents, you could see the outline of it, and I think that is freaking cool. His feet are also really interesting because you're able to have a flexion in front and in the back, and of course the rest of his ankle. So this guy, he has a great ability to pose, maybe for the limbs, but you do need to keep in mind that it's a little bit difficult, or challenging I should say, for the weapon systems. And I think really this guy is meant to be posed in the air simply because it does come with its own stand that you have to make. So overall, this was a very enjoyable build. Keep in mind that the fins here are just super annoying. You just keep constantly knocking them off. But it's a simple solution. I'm just going to get some glue, pop it in there, and it'll be in there forever and ever. You have a great variety of weapon systems. The overall design is very articulate. I think the designers for this particular Gundam F91 really wanted to pay attention to the details. I think the decals are a perfect match, and I do recommend using them. You could tell that they definitely wanted to focus on a lot of cool things like the gold underneath his vents, the vents underneath his legs, the cockpits, the gold underneath his abdominal area, and even the jetpack system behind him. So even the gold here. So overall, a very worth the build. Yeah, very well worth the build, well worth the money. I think this guy is definitely incredible. Easy to pose without the weapon system. I'd say that out of all the weapon systems, the beam rifle and the beam sabers would definitely be the easiest. His bazooka and the beam system underneath him would be the hardest. But that's my quick thought on this review, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't want to extend this video past like 15 minutes because there are quite a bit of things to talk about, because we could go into his shoulders, which also has fins on the side, which are pretty cool, and a bunch of other unique features that is just featured on the box and featured on the advertisement pictures online. So if you have any questions or comments, please post them down in the section below. If I talk too fast, you could always change the playback speed of this video to like 0.75. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next videos. Peace out. Here's my nails. Enjoy.